Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready, because today we are quite literally stepping through the looking glass.
Right into a world where everything seems backwards, doesn't it? Sense is nonsense, physics. Well, physics has gone weird.
Exactly. And our source for this trip, it's Lewis Carroll's totally unique, wonderfully strange Through the Looking Glass, specifically excerpts from Project Gutenberg.
And our mission, really, is to guide you through this very peculiar place. We're going to
Yeah.
explore its strange rules, meet the unforgettable characters Alice runs into.
And trace her journey, yeah, but based only on what Carroll actually gives us in the text.
And right away, even before she goes through the mirror, the text drops this fascinating hint.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing is set up like a game of chess. Alice is a white pawn, aiming for the eighth square to become a queen. It even says she can win in 11 moves.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just random wandering then. There's this, like, underlying structure.
Precisely. It turns what seems like pure nonsense into a kind of quest, a game with a goal. Gives it all a surprising logic in its own way.
Okay, so let's unpack how she actually, makes that jump. From her drawing room into this other place, she's playing with her kittens, right? Dinah and Snowdrop.
hmm And she's looking at the looking glass over the fireplace, imagining what's on the other side. Looking glass house.
And then what? How does she get through?
Well, she climbs up onto the chimney piece, looks right into the glass, and as she's talking about it, the glass just stops being solid.
Stops being solid.
Yeah, it gets soft, like it's melting away into this silvery mist, almost like a fog she can just step right through.
And poof, she's in. Lands in the looking glass room, which is similar to her own room, but backwards, obviously.
Right, but with these little differences. The fire's real, which surprises her, but the room's messier, the chessmen are just scattered on the hearth.
She finds a book there, right? A looking glass book.
Yeah, but the words are all backwards.
Yeah.
She has to hold it up to her own mirror. Well, the looking glass she just came through to actually read it.
Which is how we first meet Jabberwocky, isn't it? That famous poem. She reads the backward version first, then figures out how to read it properly in the reflection.
Exactly. It's our first big clue about how this world inverts everything, even language itself.
So she goes outside the house. What does she find there?
She sees the whole country laid out, and just like that chess game idea, she literally says it looks marked out just like a large chessboard.
With little brooks for lines and hedges for, well, the edges of the squares. It's this weird geometric landscape.
And this place has some seriously bizarre rules. Physics just doesn't work the way we expect.
Like what?
Well, the first thing is trying to get somewhere. She wants to reach this hill, but every time she walks towards it, the path twists around and somehow leads her right back to the house.
Huh. So how does she get there?
She has to walk the other way, away from the hill. It's completely counterintuitive.
Okay, that's weird enough. But then the Red Queen tells her about running, right?
Oh yeah, the really famous bit. You have to run as fast as you possibly can just to stay in the same spot.
And if you want to actually go somewhere,
You have to run at least twice as fast as that.
a slow sort of country, as Alice puts it, which feels relatable sometimes, doesn't it? Putting in all that effort and not getting anywhere.
Definitely a feeling we can all recognize. And later, the White Queen actually maps out Alice's journey across this chessboard for her.
Right. She's starting in the second square, and the queen says, okay, you take the train to the third.
And the fourth square is Tweedledum and Tweedledee. The fifth is Water. The sixth is Humpty Dumpty.
Seventh is the forest, and then the eighth, that's where she becomes queen and gets the feast.
It gives us this great structure for all the characters she meets. They're not just random encounters. They're tied to her progress across the board.
So following that path, who are the first characters she meets? Outside the house.
The very first ones are the talking flowers in the garden. And the text gives this odd reason they can talk.
What is it?
The ground has to be hard. Apparently soft ground stops flowers from talking.
Okay. That's random. And are they nice?
Not particularly. They have their own ideas about manners. They don't speak first, you see. And they immediately start criticizing Alice. Her color, her petals, well, her lack of petals.
Judgmental flowers.
Great. The tiger lily and the rose are the main ones, but the daisies pipe up too. They make this awful pun about trees and bow wow.
Dear.
And the rose mentions there's another flower that moves around like Alice, only redder and more bushy. A hint about the Red Queen coming up.
Even the plants have opinions. So after the garden, she jumps squares somehow, ends up on a train.
Yeah, suddenly she's in a railway carriage, supposedly the third square now. The text mentions looking glass insects, but they turn out to be other things.
And that train journey is just bonkers way.
Totally absurd. Alice points out there wasn't even a ticket office where she got on. Then there's this guy in white paper popping up, telling her she needs a return ticket every time the train stops.
And people are shouting labels at her.
Disembodied voices, yeah, calling her lass with care, saying she's being sent by post or by telegraph. It's just chaos.
She meets the gnat there too, doesn't she?
Briefly, yes. They have this slightly sad chat about whether insects talk in Alice's world. Then the gnat makes a terrible joke and just sighs itself away.
Very looking glass. So the train ride throws her over a brook into the next square, the fourth, and she ends up in a wood.
That seems to be the sequence. And this is the wood where things lose their names.
Ah, where she meets the fawn. That part's actually quite touching, isn't it?
It really is. The fawn has forgotten it's a fawn because it's lost its name. It feels friendly towards Alice, but doesn't know what she is either. They walk together like friends.
But as soon as they leave the wood and names come back.
The fawn remembers it's a fawn, remembers Alice is human, and bolts away, terrified.
It's a really interesting moment about, names and identity.
Yeah, that theme keeps coming back.
Yeah.
And speaking of identity, also likely in the fourth square, she meets Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Instantly recognizable with DM and DE on their collars. And their logic.
Oh, yeah. If it was so, it might be, and if it were so, it would be.
Yeah.
But as it isn't, it ain't. Perfect circular nonsense.
They dance, too, to tree branches rubbing.
They do. And they get into this argument over a broken rattle, which somehow leads to them deciding to have a massive battle. Alice has to help them get ready.
But they don't actually fight, do they?
Nope. Before they can start, this monstrous crow flies over, scares them half to death, and they run off. Classic Looking Glass anticlimax.
And then the queens show up. Suddenly.
Just appear, yeah. First, the White Queen. She seems, well, bit of a mess. Her shawl's pinned crooked. She's got a hairbrush tangled in her hair. Needs Alice's help immediately.
The one who believes 6 impossible things before breakfast.
That's her. She's terrible at subtraction, but great at reading single letters. She tells this bizarre story about thunder blowing her roof off, and she keeps just nodding off, mid-sentence.
Then the Red Queen appears too. She's quite different.
Oh, completely. Much more strict. Look up, speak nicely, and don't twiddle your fingers. Right off the bat. She plays with scale, too, talking about hills that make Alice's hill look like a valley.
Very commanding. And her rules? Speak when you're spoken to.
Absolutely. And remember that weird examination with the White Queen? Asking those impossible logic questions.
Like subtracting a bone from a dog.
Yeah.
What's left? The dog's temper.
Or how bread is made, confusing flour, the ingredient with picking flowers, and ground flour with acres of ground. It's just showing how normal logic completely fails here.
They ask the French for fiddle-dee-dee, too.
They do. And the Red Queen has her own unique take on time and temperature. 5 nights are somehow 5 times warmer, and 5 times colder than 1.
It's funny how these queens who are supposed to be in charge seem so helpless half the time, always needing Alice or falling asleep.
It completely flips your expectations of authority, doesn't it?
Right.
Which brings us, moving along the board to the 6th square, to Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty, sitting on his wall. He says his name means his shape, which is quite a claim.
It is. And he's very sure the king will send all his horses and men if he falls. But what he's really famous for is his view on language.
Right. When I use a word, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less.
Exactly. For him, it's about who's the master, the speaker, or the word. He thinks he controls the meaning. He even says he pays words extra when he makes them do a lot of work.
So words are about power for him. Controlling meaning means controlling. Well, maybe everything in this world.
It seems like it. And he actually breaks down Jabberwocky for Alice, word by word.
Oh, yeah. Define some of those for us.
Okay, Brillig is 4 p.m. dinner time. Slithy is slimy, and Leicester, portmanteau, he calls it.
Like 2 words packed into one.
Exactly. Toves are these weird badger lizard corkscrew things living under sundials. Gyre is to spin like a gyroscope. Gimbal is to make holes like a gimlet tool.
What about wibe?
That's the grass around a sundial. Apparently it goes a long way. Mimsy is flimsy and miserable, another portmanteau. A thin, shabby bird, like a mop. Wrath is a green pig. Mom means from home, lost. And outgrabe is like a bellow whistle sneeze sound.
It's quite the vocabulary lesson.
It is. He also sings a very strange song about fish in a kettle. And then tells Alice she's exactly like other people, so he wouldn't recognize her again. Quite dismissive.
Ouch. So after Humpty takes a tumble, presumably, who's next?
We get the White King. He shows up with the Red Queen after she falls. He's rubbing his nose, seems a bit dazed, can't even see or hear Alice at first.
And he's got his memorandum book.
Totally reliant on it. He talks about sending thousands of soldiers but keeping just 2 horses and his 2 messengers, Haya and Hada, one to come and go, one to fetch and carry.
And this is where the lion and unicorn turn up.
Right, fighting over the crown, which the king keeps saying is actually his. Their fight gets stopped for cake and bread.
And the unicorn makes that deal with Alice.
Yeah, if you'll believe in me, I'll believe in you. Another nod to belief shaping reality here. The lion asks if Alice is animal, vegetable, or mineral. It's all very odd. Then there's drumming and chaos.
That drumming seems to push things along, takes her into the 7th square, the forest again.
Feels like it. And that's where she meets the knights. The Red Knight captures her briefly, then the White Knight rescues her.
The White Knight! He's such a memorable character, with his badly fitting tin armor and that box upside down on his shoulder.
He's wonderful, isn't he? And constantly inventing things. That box is for clothes, sandwiches, and candlesticks, apparently.
Very practical.
Not really. He's got a plan to stop hair falling out using a stick, a way to get over gates by standing on his head. He thinks he invents best upside down.
His helmet's weird too, isn't it? Shaped like a sugar loaf.
Yeah, he says it's safer if he falls forward, but worries about falling into it. And despite all this inventing, he's unbelievably clumsy.
Constantly falling off his horse, Alice suggests a wooden one on wheels.
Which he doesn't seem to take up. His final moment with Alice is singing his song, A Sitting on a Gate. He says he invented the tune, but Alice knows it.
And the words are just peak looking-glass nonsense.
Absolutely. An old man making button pies from butterflies, setting rivers on fire using fish eyes for buttons, digging for buttered rolls, boiling bridges in wine. It's just a stream of bizarre images.
Does he get emotional singing it?
He doesn't, but he kind of expects Alice to cry. Then he shakes her hand, rides off, and immediately falls off his horse again. That's the end of the 7th square.
And she's almost there, the 8th square.
She makes it. The text says she cries out, 8th square at last,
Yeah.
and jumps over the last brook.
And then boom, the crown appears.
Just like the chess game promised, a golden crown lands on her head. She is Queen Alice.
Does she act differently? Now she's a queen.
She tries to be dignified. And just then, the red and white queens pop up again, ready for her coronation feast.
Ah, the feast. This sounds like it's going to be chaotic.
Understatement of the century. The food talks. The leg of mutton bows to her. The pudding gets really cheeky.
What does the pudding say?
It asks Alice how she'd like it if the pudding cut a slice out of her. And Alice is actually expected to make polite conversation with it before eating it.
That's awkward.
Very. Alice mentions all the fish poetry she's heard, which leads the White Queen into this riddle about catching and eating a fish, where the hardest part is just lifting the dish cover.
And then things just totally fall apart, right?
Complete pandemonium. Guests change shape. Bottles become people. Kangaroos drink gravy. The queens are physically pushing Alice while she tries to give a speech. The candles stretch up to the ceiling like plants. Everything starts crashing down.
Utter madness.
And right in the middle of it all, Alice decides she's had enough and confronts the Red Queen.
What happens?
The queen just shrinks down to the size of a doll and starts chasing her shawl. Alice just picks her up, ready to give her a piece of her mind. As she's scolding this tiny queen, she realizes it's turned into her kitten. The black one, Dinah, from the very beginning.
Whoa. So she starts scolding the kitten instead, assigning it the Red Queen role.
Exactly. Then she sees the white kitten, Snowdrop, and decides she must have been the White Queen. She starts telling the kittens all about her dream adventures.
Remembering the fish poems, promising to recite the walrus and the carpenter.
Right. And then she asks the black kitten Dinah, her stand-in for the Red Queen, the really big question, the ultimate question about the whole thing.
Which is?
Who it was that dreamed it all.
Yeah.
It must have been either me or the Red King.
Ah, the Red King. He was sleeping in the woods earlier, wasn't he? And Tweedledee suggested Alice might just be part of his dream.
Precisely. So there's the paradox. The Red King was in her dream, but maybe she was only in his dream. She asks the kitten, the Red King's wife, in her mind, to settle it.
Does the kitten answer?
Of course not. It just licks its paw. And then Carroll, or the narrator, turns the question straight to us, to you, the listener.
So, after going through all this, the weird physics, the talking flowers, Humpty's words, the knights, the chess game structure, the chaotic feast, we're left right where Alice is.
Yeah, having seen this world of inverted logic, talking objects, strange rules, and the line between dream and reality getting incredibly blurry, Carroll just asks point blank,
Considering everything we've just talked about, which do you think it was?
Who dreamed it all? Was it Alice, the pawn who became a queen, the active player in this game?
Or was it the sleeping Red King whose dream might have created Alice and her whole adventure?
It's a question that just hangs there, doesn't it? Makes you think about reality, imagination, who's really in control, maybe something to ponder, or even go back to the text and see if you can decide for yourself.